Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my Ferrari F40 by Kyosho. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, first thing I want to show you, obviously I have already demonstrated in my first video that the bonnet has a popped up headlight, which is fairly detailed, so well done to Kyosho for putting the extra effort. And that is a separate piece of the indicator as well, that you can see it reflected quite nicely. So now if we open the front hood, there's quite a lot of stuff to look at. So if you look at the bonnet part, you can see the air vent right here at the bottom, which is this is a perforated vent. As you can see through it. And there is also two side vents up here as well as down here that is also perforated. You can see right through them. And the two air duct on the bonnet is actually joined into a U-shaped piece, and then the air would come out from there, and when you shut the bonnet, that vent will join to this mesh area, and then it will push fresh air into the cabin, which is really cool. There's also some details at the front showing the pop-up headlight mechanism, which is there. You can see there are some louvers for some air ventilation, and the two side vents there with the perforated mesh, they come out to this vent here, the right hand side and the left hand side. So these two ducts, when it's shut, it pushes air through to that duct in front of the front wheel, and same as the other side right there. And that is for cooling the brake disc. So if you look closely, I'll try and zoom in for you. So the air goes in from here, and then it come out from there. So this is a active duct that actually goes through from this end to this end, and then it will blow the cool air to cool the brake disc and maybe the brake calipers as well. So it's pretty good detailing from Kyosho. You don't get that on a Burago model as such. You also get a fairly detailed front radiator with the cooling fans, which are all separate pieces. And if you look at the carbon top, you can see there is a space right there that is for the spare wheel. But I think most of the Ferrari F40 owner would have removed the spare wheel and use it as a small storage area. There is a small pouch with a Ferrari logo that's done pretty nicely. And you could also see there's other reservoirs as well, which has been color coded, which is pretty nice. Here you can get a better look at the front radiator as well. And then the bits that I really like, specifically on this model, if you look at the suspension, it doesn't just come with a real spring or coil. It moved, so the suspension travel, the spring does compress, and also the suspension arm, the double wishbone, they do move, but I won't recommend you to keep playing with the suspension because these parts are made out of plastic, so it can be quite fragile. Definitely you don't want to break the small piece of plastic by playing around the suspension too much. So let me just show you how the double wishbone suspension works. Which is really cool. I haven't seen that on any other model before. And obviously it is the same on the left side. So I'll demonstrate again. You can see the spring compressed, and then the damper does go up and down, and also the suspension arm right there, and the lower suspension through the hinge here and there, they all move independently, which is really cool. And if I shut the bonnet to show you the underside, which is this part right here, there's like two hinges, one there as well. Which is really cool. And I think that's about it in the front trunk. And obviously, as I mentioned, there's a bit of mesh right here and there as well, and this joint to the lower vent, which is further down on the second half of the body. So you can see there's a mesh there as well. I'll try and zoom in to show you guys. Right there. Oh, sorry. So you can see there's a perforated vent on the left side and also on the right hand side as well. Right there. Which is very detailed. Okay, so next I'm going to show you guys the interior of the F40. So the best thing to open the door safely obviously is to use the key provided by the model, or if you just pull the door slightly to create a small gap. It's probably easier to do it without the gloves on, but I'll do my best. There you go. So you just have to open the door fairly carefully. I mean, it is not flimsy or fragile, it is quite strong, but you don't want to damage it regardless. And one of the big mistakes some other Kyosho F40 owner have done in the past, and I've seen in the video, is that they try to pull the door open by moving the side mirror to come outwards. And then the mirror itself is not flexible, it is quite rigid, but if you try to pull the mirror out in order to help you to get the door open, there is a chance that you might break the side mirror, so it's better if you use a tool to wedge the door open and then just open the door gently to unveil the interior of the F40. So straight away you can see the interior is fairly basic, which reflects to the real car. The real F40 is also not very well equipped. So looking at the door panel, they have painted the locking mechanism in silver. It has a kind of plastic window, and that is attached to the door card, and the door card is pretty plain as well. They have included the carbon texture on the door panel, and obviously this car is dated back in the 1987 to early 90s, so you don't get electric windows, so you have got this hand wind mechanism there. And also the F40 is trying to be a super lightweight car, so it doesn't even come with the door handle on the door card, so you have this bit of string that dangled on the door that you pull to shut the door once you're in. And inside you can see the carbon tub. So the carbon pattern is a sticker or decal to replicate the carbon tub, which is done quite nicely. And that's only on the outside. The actual inside tub, that is with carbon texture plastic. And then the dash has a fabric surface on it, which is quite nice to touch, and same as the racing seat. It's not just molded plastic, they actually have got a layer of material on it to replicate the fabric on the racing seat, similar to Alcantara. And then on the back of the racing seat you can see there's more carbon texture effect as well, which is done quite nicely. And then obviously as a Kyosho model you do get a proper seat belt, so you can see the winding mechanism there, the buckled, and then the seat belt itself, and then the actual buckle to put into the seat belt buckle mechanism. It's over there. Sorry for my phone ringing in the background. And you can see there is a handbrake in the center console, and the gear stick mechanism. So the gear stick mechanism is done quite nicely. It's chromed with a black gear knob. The steering wheel is done quite nicely with texture steering on the wheel, and you can see the 6 bolts around the center cap, which has a nice Ferrari logo on it as well. And then you can see the speedometer right at the front, the indicator, as well as the windscreen wiper and headlight stalk are all there. There's some buttons on the side as well. And then at the bottom you can see there's a molded plastic floor mat with the brake pedal, the clutch pedal, both in silver - chrome color, and then the accelerator in black. And I'll show you the opposite side. door is exactly the same as the other side. And then the interior, you can see the carbon top with the decal on the outside, and then carbon texture for the inside. What else is there? So the bucket seat is exactly the same as the other side. And one thing that I have only discovered recently when I was cleaning the model is that the racing seat, not just the passenger side but also on the driver side as well, you can move the seat forward like that, and you can also move it backwards. So the chair does slide forward and backward like that, which is really cool. Now, moving on from the behind the door panel, you can see there is a small vent right there, which is here. And that is actually a real vent, and it ducts air into the engine bay. I'll show you in just a sec. As I mentioned in my previous video, the F40 features 2 fuel caps, so the fuel tank is linked inside, but you can't open this on the 1:18 scale, unfortunately. But the Kyosho 1:12 model, I think you can open the fuel cap, which is really cool. Now, if we take a look at the vent again, so in my previous video I've already shown you the 2 air vent or air duct behind the front door. These are real vents, they duct air into the engine bay. And just now when I point out the small vent right there behind the rear quarter window, so that also push air into the engine bay. Sorry. So the air come through the little hole there, and then it will come out right there. And it's the same on the other side. So this duct is connected up to the duct up here. We channel the air to the outlet here, and this will join to this air box to cool the small radiator in there. And obviously it is exactly the same on the left hand side, where you have the duct. I'm trying to show you. So the air come out from here and it duct in there to come out through this hole, and then it will join onto this air box to cool the small radiator inside before the cooled air gets back into the engine. So let me just find this small piece of metal to prop this trunk open. So this small piece of metal also comes with the Kyosho model. So you just have to put the metal bar inside the indent hole right there, and then it will keep the rear engine cover opened. So also the air vent on the side above the rear wheels, the right side and the left side, that also channel air down to this scoop, which cool the radiator down here. There's one radiator on the right hand side, and the left duct, it will duct air to cool the other radiator, which is down here. And you'll probably notice the radiator on this side, the left side, is slightly smaller than the one on the right hand side. It's almost like half the size. What else is there? One thing I've noticed is, if you pay enough attention, on the left hand side of the air duct above the rear wheel, this is just a straight through duct, like so. And then on the other side, you will see there is a small partition there to split the air channel onto left and right. So I'll try and zoom in to show you guys, like that. So it's split into two. And the reason is, if I come back to the engine bay, on the top side, you will see where the air goes in from there is split out into the first duct, which is here, and that cools the small radiator inside this air box. And then the second one comes out here, which is like a small V-shaped channel, and that basically will blow cold air to cool the exhaust manifold, which is really cool and it's very detailed. So that's all the air duct that you will see on this model. Obviously, I've already mentioned there are louvers on the engine window, as well as there are more louvers underneath the spoiler or rear wing, and they are perforated, as you can see. So they're through, and obviously the mesh, now you can see right through to the engine bay as well. Now coming into the engine bay, I do like this model a lot. So with the suspension, it is very similar to the front suspension. It does come with a black spring or black coil with the orange damper, and obviously all of those suspension arms are separate parts, so they do move very nicely, just like the front suspension. And then in terms of the details of the engine, it is very detailed, and I really like the level of details Kyosho have gone through to build this F40. And they also used a lot of different color parts, or painted a lot of parts to make the engine stand out. So you can see the top of the engine is mainly like a silver dash chrome color, and then you can see there are some red wiring underneath leading to the red cylinder block, which is bright red as well. And then there are some blue highlighted area for the coils, as well as the oil filter in blue that you can see in the middle. And then underneath the engine, you can see the exhaust manifold underneath the engine in like a gold color, which is really cool. It's almost like a real engine. And if you know the engine of the F40 well enough, you will know the F40 has a twin turbo engine, and you can actually see the turbo as well. So if you look through the gap here and there, I'll show you the first turbo. How do I find it? Right. If I show you the one on this side, right there, that's the turbo on the right hand side. You might be able to see the twin turbos better from this angle. Right there. Not this one, but that one. So that's the turbo number 1, and that is the turbo number 2. Pretty cool. And what else is there to show you? You can probably see it for yourself. The whole engine assembly is very, very detailed. And I know a lot of people have also pointed out in their own video as well. One thing that they like a lot is the sticker right there. Maybe it's easier if I turn the model the other way so you can try and read it if you can. I'm not sure if you'll be able to. I can definitely see the Ferrari logo. And then probably just some information about the engine itself. But it is cool for Kyosho to, to include that level of details in the engine bay as well. So let me zoom back out. There you go, you can see the engine manifold inside in like a polished gold color, and then coming out you can see the suspension geometry, which is really, really cool. I'll show you the suspension again. And the tires are pretty thick. And one thing I've noticed earlier is, you see the heat shield right here? It's actually textured heat shield. I'll try and zoom in closer. You'll be able to see it. It's not just a flat piece of plastic. It's actually textured as well. It's very, very detailed. And look at that oil filter in the middle. It's very well done to Kyosho in replicating this F40. It is definitely one of my favorite 1:18 scale in my collection. Just to show you guys the exhaust again. So I've seen most of the 1:18 scale Ferrari F40. The model would normally show the 3 exhaust, but very rarely you will see the outer surrounding as well. But it's replicate here on a Kyosho model. It's pretty cool. And as I mentioned last time, the 4 louvers here is actually perforated. I'm not sure how I could show you, but there you go. You can see through the louvers to the air duct leading to the radiator. And I think that's about it. Pretty cool details Ferrari F40, and this is the prop that came with the model to pop up the rear engine cover if you want to show the engine bay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm sure you guys will appreciate the details inside this Ferrari F40 made by Kyosho. I think it's a job nicely done by them to not just make the kind of exterior look just like the real car. They have also spent the extra effort to include all of those details inside the cabin as well, and as well as inside the engine bay. It's definitely one of the best F40 model out there. So if you could still find one, I would strongly recommend you to get one if you can, you know, find one at a good price. And also it depends on the condition of the model car as well. As you're all fully aware, you know, back in the days when the die-cast model are more popular, most of these model cars would be made out of die-cast. So if you don't look after them, you know, properly, or store them in the right place, then very often you will find models with paint rash. So you see, like, I don't know, most of the most common area would be the front bonnet, or on the roof, or somewhere along the rear panel you'll see some paint bubbling up. But you know, if you put the what do you call it, the silicone gel or a small dehumidifier inside the cabinets, or keep your model in a nice cool and dry area, then your model is going to stay in good condition like this one. And also, one of the most important thing is, especially for you to handle die-cast model, it is always better to wear gloves. I mean, I could only wear gloves on one side because, you know, otherwise I won't be able to do anything just by holding up the model. So I do put my fingerprint around the model cars. So what I will need to do now, before I put the model car back into my cupboard, I need to give the model a good clean up. Just give it a good wipe, and just to make sure that I don't leave any fingerprint, because, you know, your fingerprint very often contain oil, body oil, and maybe a small amount of acid as well, and it's definitely not going to do your model car paint any good, especially on a die-cast model. But that is it. I hope you guys really enjoyed the detailed look into the Kyosho F40 in 1:18 scale, and I will see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and keep following my video. When I have new video uploaded, you'll be the first person to know. So that is it, guys. Take care, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.